welcome back to our Golden 20s. This is a very special episode where we're going to answer some of your questions.
Ooh.
My name is Tegan, and I'm joined with my co-host Sadie as always.
The hype woman in the background. Woohoo! That's me.
Yeah. Exactly. And yeah, as I just mentioned, we put the call out on our Instagram asking you for your questions so we could answer them, and we got a bunch from a bunch of different people. It's all going to be anonymous, and I actually think it's all sort of like advice based, which is interesting because when we've done this in the past, some of it's just like, you know, people asking questions about our lives, which is cool too, but this is all just going to be advice, which is exciting. And Sadie and I didn't prep anything. In the past, when we've done Q&As, we like write out written responses, but we're just gonna wing it and see what our little brains come up with.
I'm nervous. If you guys know, I'm a huge planner, so I take the notes for the episode planning very seriously, but today I'm like, no, let's do it. Off the cuff, real, raw advice.
Different vibe.
It'll be great.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we can dive right in. The first question we got said, what's one thing you wish you knew sooner?
Okay, I have one. And it's kind of a cliche, something I think I've said before in past episodes about things you learn in your 20s. But something I wish I knew sooner was that literally everyone's making it up as they go. I feel like as someone who always sets goals and is always like working towards a future version of myself or a future life or my dream life or something like that, I'm always like striving for something, but it's like in reality, I don't want to say you never achieve it, but it's like things always come up along the way, or things might take longer than you think, and you might want something because you see somebody else who has that and they're an inspiration to you and you look up to them. However, it's like in reality, even if they've achieved whatever you're working on or whatever, it's like they're making it up as they go as well. And they just so happen to kind of stumble across the success that you're also chasing after. So that's kind of liberating to me. Also takes the pressure off, since I put a lot of pressure on myself to kind of be perfect all the time and to have things figured out and to be an adult and to be responsible and all these things. And it just takes the pressure off to be like, nobody's got it figured out. I don't need to have it figured out either.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like that's a really good answer. The thing that came to my mind, which is a little, I guess, more specific, is it's never too early to start saving money.
I love it.
And yeah, I don't really know why that just came to my mind, but I guess I was just thinking of younger me. And obviously, like when you're a teenager, you're not probably thinking big picture or anything like that. But it was like, once I got money in my account, I was like, great, that's money to spend. Love it. Let's go spend it, you know? And so it would be frequently like I'd get a paycheck and go spend it on something. So I was like, I earned that money. Let's go. Whereas, you know, and in the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot of money that I was spending, but still at the same time, you know, by the end of first year university, I was back to like $0 because I didn't work the whole year. And I'm like, I should have saved some of that money instead of buying all those Urban Decay Naked palettes or whatever. So yeah, I wanted to throw that out there. It's never too early to start saving.
I love that, especially for people in their 20s. I think that's a good reminder because when you start saving money, you're often asked like, what is your goal? You know, like, are you saving to buy a car? Are you saving to buy a house? And all of these things in your 20s might feel like a distant goal, like saving for retirement when that's 40 years away. It's like, I have time. I don't need to start doing it now. But I think like the idea of it's never too early. It's like, start now and you can use that money when this does come up. You know what I mean? Or like the sooner you start saving, the more you'll have in the end of things. So yeah, I think that's good advice.
Awesome. The next question we got is, what's a big bucket list item that you haven't hit yet? I feel like I have a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have like a bucket list that's written down
Me
anywhere.
either.
So I do kind of feel like it's fluid, but there are a lot of places I've always wanted to travel to that I haven't been to. I've always wanted to travel to Egypt and I've always wanted to travel to India, and I haven't been like even close to any of those places. So that's the first thing that comes to my mind.
Yeah. I think I would say travel as well. I also would say, again, being like a dreamer type, I've always like dreamed of
Mm.
having my own business. And that's always been like
Mhm.
my number one life mission. I don't know why, where it came from, or like, well, I know where it came from, but I don't know what it looks like. Like, I don't know what I want my business to be,
Mhm.
but I've always envisioned that for myself. And then I kind of went through a phase of being like, actually, no, maybe I'm fine just working corporate life and like climbing corporate
Yeah.
ladders. But now I'm kind of back to being like, no, maybe I should revisit this. Maybe I should think about this again. So I feel like that's maybe not a bucket list item, but it's kind of like a lifetime goal that
Mhm.
I haven't hit yet. And I think you were just talking about it not being too early, but something I'm trying to reframe my thinking around when it comes to owning my own business is that it's never too late. Like, I think I see so
Yeah.
many influencers in their 20s launching businesses, and I'm like, holy shit, like, if only
Mhm.
I took social media seriously, like way back when Instagram first came out, like I could have had my own business by now.
Right.
But it's like, no, that's such a bad way to think. It's not productive. And just because it hasn't happened for me in my 20s yet doesn't mean it never will. So, yeah, that's my
Mhm.
answer. Sorry to get deep. This is why I'm always scripted. Not
Yeah.
scripted, but why I think things through first.
Practiced.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. The next question we got was, I've been on so many bad dates lately. How do I keep putting myself out there?
This one's tricky. I feel like I say it's tricky because we all kind of go through it, and it's very much like a pep talk you need to
Mhm.
have with yourself, where it's like, yeah, how do I continue to put effort into this when it's eating up all my energy and I'm not getting anywhere with
Mhm.
it? Like, why should I continue to try? So I think what helps me is I say this even though I really don't feel like I've been on that many bad dates, or I haven't done
Mhm.
like a lot of like dating in a short amount of time where I'm just like exhausted from it kind of thing. But I would say what does help me when I'm not feeling inspired to date is focusing on kind of my why, and like why I'm looking for somebody, why I'm wanting to date. And, it's not, for me, it's not so that I can one day get married and have kids. It's like, I just want somebody to
Mhm.
like come home to and rant about my day, somebody who can like listen to me and be there for me and make me feel better on my bad days. Like, that is what I want. So I feel like having that to come back to reminds me this is what I'm looking for. And that's going to be hard to find, but it's worth putting the time in for when I do find it. So I think focusing on your why, taking breaks when you need to. I think we've mentioned that in a past dating episode, where dating is kind of
Mhm.
like a part-time job, full-time job, sometimes even if you're dating multiple people
Yeah.
at once. So it's also okay to just be like, you know what? I'm taking the next week, 2 weeks, next month off to just
Mhm.
focus on me, hang out with my friends, like, I don't know, sign up for workout classes, make my meals at home, like just really take care of myself. And then hopefully you can use that time to recoup some energy. And then before you know it, you'll be inspired to get back out there.
Yeah, I love that. I kind of on the same thought as taking breaks. The piece of advice that I would give is, instead of being like, I'm done with dating,
Yeah.
it's like it's okay to take a step back and be like, instead of, going on a date a week or whatever, I'm just going to go on one date this month and I'm going to
Hmm.
be okay with that, rather than, being the extreme of like, I'm dedicating all of my time to this or I'm done with it. Yeah. My advice would be to kind of play in the middle a little.
I love it. It's not on or off. It's like scale it back,
Yeah.
make it manageable. Yeah, I feel that's good
Hmm.
advice. And maybe also look at like is there something like, why are these bad dates, and maybe switch things up. So we've talked in the past about kind of like what to do on first dates, what to do on second dates. But if you just are constantly
Yeah.
going for drinks and chatting and you're finding the conversation's always like lagging or not very exciting, or that's kind of what's totaling up to a bad date, it's like maybe try something
Yeah.
different, like go on an activity date or do something that you don't typically do to kind of flip the
Mhm.
date on its head almost. And I don't know, that could just offer a fresh perspective to dating as well.
Yeah, well, and something you also talked about was not necessarily sticking to your type too.
Yeah.
If, you're like swiping through dating apps, if you're like something's just not working, maybe, change some of the filters you're using or expand the age range or something like
Yeah.
that. Even like switching apps, I feel like might be a new way to like freshen things up.
Totally. Yeah, that's a great call, especially with switching the apps. I had that for one of my June
Yeah.
goals, was to like abandon Hinge. I was gonna
Mhm.
call it like, I don't know what I was gonna call it. I was only coming up with Tinder and I was like, no, I'm not using Tinder. What is it? Then I was like, no, Hinge. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. This is
Hunter.
showing how dedicated I am to my dating apps. But I
Yeah.
set the goal to like abandon Hinge, which I've been using for years now, and go to Bumble. And
Mhm.
then I just never followed through with that. But the thought was there. And I think that's a great strategy
Yeah.
to switch things up.
Yeah, I get so many ads for dating apps, may I just
Yes.
say, and like very specialized ones where I'm like,
Okay.
first off, I'm married, so like what is happening?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't even where it's like you get your friends on here and your friends recommend people or, this is the app for this kind of dating or it doesn't have pictures, it don't and I'm like, what is happening? Why am I getting so many
Interesting.
ads?
Yeah. I've been getting a lot of ads lately too. A lot of them for Tinder, which is why I think it's top of mind for me.
Oh, interesting.
And the ads
Yeah.
are actually really great. Like, I love them,
Oh.
even though, I don't know, I just find them kind of like quirky, and it's
Hmm.
very, very like, yeah, funny to me. But I haven't seen any for like different dating apps I haven't heard before where it's like, yeah, no pictures and like all these things. So interesting. If you see anything interesting, tag, report
Yeah.
back to the podcast, because us single
I
gals
will.
will
Yeah.
will test
We
it out.
also like get sent them to like our podcast email. Like, I
Oh,
don't know what is going on. Have you seen these? The like people, I don't know if it's people or like the dating apps themselves will like sign up our like our Golden 20s email to their email list. So now
no.
we get like, it's so weird. We get these like emails about, like stop being in the grind of having to swipe, join the such and such dating app. And I'm like, what is like, it follows me everywhere. It's on Instagram, it's in our email. I don't know what's going on.
Wow. Okay, I need to look because I have not seen those, but that's
Yeah.
funny. And like you said, I love how they're stalking you, where you're like, guys, this is
Yeah.
money wasted.
Yeah.
Like, I am
Wrong
married. I
tree.
don't,
Working
yeah,
up.
this is not your target market
Yeah.
here. Interesting.
So weird.
Yeah. Anyway, guess we can move on to our next question, which is also dating
Yeah.
related. And it says, a guy I've recently been talking to ghosted. Should I reach out just for closure? Teg, I'm curious what your thoughts are.
Yeah. I have a gut reaction to this, and
Okay.
it's no.
Okay.
And I I think the reason that that's my gut reaction is that it's like it's actually not going to like make you feel any better.
Yeah.
Whether like you think it will or not, but it's like no reason they give or like they might not even respond and then you're going to feel bad about reaching out. Like I don't know. My perspective is maybe coming from like a job hunting perspective where it's like if you apply to a job and you get ghosted, which happens quite frequently, I'm not going to be like, well, I'm going to find the hiring manager on LinkedIn and be like, what's going on?
Right.
Because it's like I kind of know the reason deep down and, it wasn't meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one little thing in the grand scheme of my life. So my gut instinct is no. You should just let it be. They ghosted you for a reason. And also, you don't need that kind of energy in your life. You don't need to be
Totally.
like fighting with, I don't know, for this person's attention. And it's just like a guy you've been talking to, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I love that. I love when you said it's just a small thing in the grand scheme of life. Like that one hit home for
Yeah.
me, where it's like, that's such a good way to look at it, because you might feel
Yeah.
like, yeah, this is a big like thing in your life right now, but it's like in your, I don't know, when you think about your whole year, it's like, is this guy ghosting you going to be the one thing that
Mhm.
stands out? Like, no, probably not. So I love that.
No.
I was thinking about, I just watched this episode of Sex in the City a few
Mhm.
weeks ago, or maybe last week. And it's when Carrie is dating Burger and he meets
Ugh.
all the friends. I know, I also do not like
Right.
Burger. I think Burger's
I
my
hate
least
Burger.
favorite guy Carrie dated in the whole series.
Yeah.
And that might
He's the
be,
worst.
yeah, I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion, but I dislike him so much. Like, he is everything
Mhm.
that independent women dislike.
Yeah.
Like the worst. But anyways, when they go for dinner, sorry, getting back on track, not just here to shit on Burger, but when they go for dinner for Burger to meet Miranda and Charlotte and Samantha, I think
Mhm.
Miranda's having this thing where I don't think this guy ghosted her, but essentially she's like waiting for this guy to reach out or something. And she might have asked if she should reach out to him or something. I don't know the exact
Mhm.
scene, but what it comes down
Yeah, he
to,
didn't come upstairs because he had a meeting or
oh, yes,
something.
thank you, Tag. Yes.
Yeah.
Where Burger's advice is just like, he's just not that into you. Like it's kind of, I feel like in
Mhm.
the girly space, everyone's always like, if he wanted to, he would, like that little
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
cliche. Okay, sure. But it is kind of along those lines of like, if he wanted to reach out to you, he would, but he's not. So he's just not that into
Yeah.
you, and you guys should actually
Yeah.
watch He's Just Not That Into You, if this is like the movie, if this is resonating with you, because that's actually such a good way to look at it. And it's, again, nothing personal, like if you're just talking to this person, you
Mhm.
don't really know them that well, you don't know them that much, like it's not like they were like, this is the worst person in the world, I'm never going to text them again. It was just like, wasn't feeling it, sorry, like that happens. That's probably happened to you with people you've been on dates with or talking to or whatever. So I think that's it. It's just, he's just not that into you. I also
Yeah.
would not reach out. I get it, because as someone who likes closure, it can be tempting to be like, what the fuck? Or like, like text
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
But if you were to do that and you're like riled up about it, you reach out and you're like, hey, what's going on? Haven't heard from you. You're approaching it in like a very combative way already, where you're not
Mhm.
setting the conversation up for success. Like if you feel like you need to reach out to them because you're like worked up about it, and then even if they respond, it's likely not going to be like a productive conversation or like something that
Mhm.
ends mutually where both of you have closure and are happy with how it ended. Like I feel like there's still a high chance, even if you were
Yeah.
to talk it out, just to pull out the words that they're not that into you. I think it's just like, yeah, I don't know. Was it necessary? Do you actually feel better? Are
Mhm.
you still worked up about this? Like, was this productive? I don't know. So yeah, I agree with you. Long story short, no, don't reach out.
Love it. Love it. The next question we got was, what's the best ways to find besties?
I feel every time we do a Q&A, people always ask us, how do I make friends? And it's hard.
Mhm.
Like we've talked about friendships and stuff, because as much as we talk about dating, I feel like if you're in a relationship, making friends is almost like your dating version, where it's like you have to go
Yeah.
out, meet
Yeah.
people and whatever to make friends. But it's also just like, yeah, it is hard to maintain friendships, but then make new friendships when you're out of school and living like post-grad and stuff.
Mhm.
I think for me, I've said this a million times, probably every time we talk about friends and besties especially, is all of my friends, not all of my friends, but a lot of my friends are through work. And that's because when
Mhm.
you work with someone like all day, every day, especially evident like when you were in the office and like in close proximity, like seeing this
Yeah.
person every day, just like naturally you start kind of sharing your whole life story with them. At least I do, which is probably no surprise since I love to talk. But it's like, what did you do this weekend? Quickly turns into like, oh my God, you know, this happened, this happened. Next thing you know, this person knows your entire life story and everything that's going on in your home life, literally everything. So for me, it
Yeah.
just like naturally turns into friendships outside of the office. Even before that, like when I think of some of my other best friends, it was through school and it was for very similar reasons where
Mhm.
it's like I saw this person all day, every day. We complained about our teachers together. And then all of a sudden we're complaining about everything else in life together and supporting each other through
Yeah.
it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of friends come from like activities and locations, like you were saying, whether it's like work or, like you volunteer with the same people and they kind of
Hmm.
become your friends. The other way I found that I've made friends in my 20s is like through other friends.
Yeah.
So it's like if your friend's throwing a party, go to the party and talk to people or set up something with a friend where it's like, I want to go to this, new restaurant. Do you want to come and bring a couple friends? And then, those are new people to meet. I think those are the most common ways that I've made new friends
I
in my
love that.
20s.
Yeah, that's so good. And even like throw a party and invite your coworkers, invite your friends like from school, invite
Mhm.
your friends from childhood, and then yeah, ask them to bring their friends. And then all of a sudden you just have this like
Yeah.
group of people where everyone's just mingling and getting to know each other. I feel that's so much fun.
Yeah, I've seen people throwing like plus one parties
Mm,
where it's like you have a core group and then everyone's like bring a plus one that no one else will know.
right. That's another episode of Sex in the City where they have like a singles party.
Yeah, it's like a dating. Yeah,
Yeah.
classic.
Yeah, I think also kind of to that point, just say yes and like get out there. Like I think this applies if you're looking
Hmm.
for a partner in the dating scene or if you're looking just to make more friends. It's like if someone invites you to something, go. Like even if it's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I won't know anybody else there." Like that's what we're saying. That's great. Put yourself in that position. Yes, it's uncomfortable. It takes courage. You have to be brave. Like it's a lot of uncomfortable feelings to put yourself out there, but it could very well be like super worthwhile if you meet new people there who you end up really clicking with.
Yeah, 100%. Great. The next question we got, which I actually love because it feels like we're answering like a magazine column or something, is what's your favorite thing to serve at a party or take to a potluck?
I love this. We were just talking about parties.
Yeah. I think the thing that is my go-to is like a cheese or charcuterie board because one, it's like not actually cooking or baking,
Yeah.
which I
Quick and
love.
easy. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like very low effort, but then it's looks high effort
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah.
If
Totally.
especially if you like put it together all aesthetically and make it like a whole big production.
Yeah.
It's like this is something I literally spent 10 minutes on, but it looks like I'm the fanciest little gal in this whole place.
Yeah. It's a
So,
crowd pleaser, that's for sure.
yeah, I also just love cheese, so
Who
it makes me
doesn't?
happy too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I say who doesn't because I'm someone who doesn't, I'm not supposed to eat much cheese, but when I see a charcuterie board, I'm like, I'm in.
Yeah.
Screw the
Let's
rules,
go.
I'm
Yeah.
here. Yeah. It's just so pretty, I have to eat it.
Yeah.
I think for me, my answer, the first thing that came to mind for me was actually a drink. I like to serve like a sangria or some sort of like
Mhm.
festive drink. If it's, I like to have
Yeah.
kind of like a party around a certain thing. Usually it's like around Christmas. So it'd be like maybe there's a festive Christmas drink, but a
Yeah.
good go to year round is a sangria. And you can really switch this
Mhm.
up. Like in the summer, it might be like strawberries and oranges versus in the fall, it could be like apples and cinnamon. Like you could really get
Mhm.
creative with it, change it up for every party you have. But I love serving that. And it's also like nice to give your like guests a drink as soon as they get in without committing to
Yeah.
like supplying alcohol all night kind of thing. And then on the food
for sure.
front, my family has a family recipe that we all whip out for parties and potlucks, actually, which is my Uncle Brad's taco dip. And it's like a chip dip that
Mm.
is
Mhm.
like a taco seasoning base. Then it has like lettuce, cucumbers, green peppers, and then cheese on top. And that's also a crowd pleaser. People love it. It is like crack. Once you start eating it, you cannot stop. And
Yeah.
yeah, I feel it's also a good thing to take to a potluck. You just can't forget the chips.
Mhm. True. True. Love it.
Yeah. What would you take to a potluck, Tay?
I do bring charcuterie
Yeah.
boards. I have a board that has like walls around it, kind of like it's got
Okay.
handles,
Nice.
and it was purposely purchased for this. So you can set it all up. Cheese is actually supposed to be served at room temperature too. I feel like people don't know this. So
Mm,
don't be weirded out by the fact that it's like not going to be refrigerated if you have like
right.
long travels to this potluck. It's all good. And so I'll put it all together and then saran wrap the top, and then nothing can move. And then I just bring my little fancy knives. So
I love
I
it.
do that
Yeah.
a lot. Yeah, the last like 5 potlucks I've done charcuterie.
Love it. We should do like maybe a
Yeah.
Patreon exclusive, like Tegan's charcuterie guide or something. And you can tell us everything
Yeah.
you put on your board.
I do have methods.
There
Yeah.
you
It's
go.
like, and then I have to put things down in a certain order. It's a whole thing.
Okay, guys, subscribe to our Patreon. It's happening.
You'll see. Cheese goes first. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll tease to the non patrons.
Cheese, room temperature, and it goes first. Those are your 2 takeaways from this
Yep.
episode.
Yep. The next question we got is also sort of food related, and it's what's your go to coffee order in the summer?
Ooh. Mine's probably lame and nothing fancy. And it's the same as my
Yeah.
go to coffee order, just iced. And that is a
Yeah.
vanilla latte with coconut milk or oat milk, but iced in the
Mm,
summer.
love it. Mine is also like the same thing I drink in the winter, and it's just like iced coffee with cream and
Yeah,
sweetener. Not super
love it.
exciting, but sometimes I'll do the shaken espresso.
Mm,
Iced shaken, I don't know what it's called at
yeah,
Starbucks, but not with oat milk, just normal milk. But yeah, again,
nice.
that's like not that fancy,
Yeah. Your
but
iced coffee over cold brew?
yes. Although I will say my husband Tyrell just discovered you can get cold brew at the grocery store.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
feel like we might be forced to become cold brew people because he's very excited about it. So we'll see.
That's so funny. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. I love cold brew at home. Like, it's expensive.
Hmm.
Buying it from the grocery store, I'm like, why
Yeah.
is this so expensive if it's just like brewed cold?
Coffee.
Like, I know it takes a long time to brew it,
Yeah.
whatever, but my sister started making her own cold brew, and I keep thinking I need to do this because, like, it's not hard,
Mm.
it just takes a long time. So maybe I'll do that, and then I can share the recipe with Tyrell so you guys can make it at home.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Okay.
good. Great. Well, the last question we got is what are the best places in Toronto to take out of towners?
Oh, I hate this. I always blank. Like, if people were to just be like, hey, girl, going for dinner, where should I go? Like,
Yeah.
I have a little list of places. I'll pull it up and be like, here's a whole bunch of options. But if somebody from out of town is like, so, like, where should I go? I'm
Yeah.
visiting
What
Toronto.
are
Where should I
the
go? Yeah.
places?
I'm like, oh God, I have no idea.
Mm,
Let me open my list right now.
yeah.
Let's see.
Let me think. So, my favorite restaurant in the whole city is Grey Gardens.
Okay.
I will throw that out there. If you're a Toronto girly and you have not been to Grey Gardens, you just like, you have to go.
I
It
don't think
seems
I've been.
expensive, but it's so worth it. It's my favorite meal I've ever had in my entire life.
Wow.
It I it is so good. And then every time I see someone go to Grey Gardens and post it on their Instagram story, I'm like, oh my God, I need to. I've only been once too. We've never gone back. I love it so much. It's also cute, but like not pretentious. I don't know. Like
Mm.
I walked in, we went for Valentine's Day, and I was in like a fancy dress, and all the other girls there were in just like jeans, sneakers, and like cool shirts.
Mm.
But
I
I
love
was like,
it.
I can tell that their outfits were like 5 times the price of my dress. Like that
Mm.
was very much the vibe of it.
Yeah. Quiet
So,
luxury. That's a big thing right now.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So I love it's also just like very small, cute Kensington Market area.
Interesting. I'll have to go.
So, yeah,
Yeah. Are
it's
you
so
at
good. I'll
all
go with you.
worried that, yeah, let's go together for Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
um, are you at all worried that when you go back, it won't be as good as you remember? If you've only been once and it was the best meal of your life?
Yeah.
Like, I'm
There is the
stressed.
potential because it's like a rotating menu too. So
Oh,
everything's
okay.
seasonal.
Okay.
And so it's like the stuff that I had then is going to be different than what they're serving now. It's not like I can order the exact same thing,
Right.
but I can live with that. I ate
Yeah.
stuff too that I don't normally like when I was there, but then it was so good. I had like they had this ravioli that had like charred apple on the side,
Ooh,
and it was like
that sounds good.
squash ravioli with charred apple. It was crazy. I
That
was like,
sounds
what's going
so
on?
good.
Yeah, it was so delicious. And we sat chef's view, so we could see them like making everything, and the chef could just hand it to us. And yeah, it was just so good.
I love
So
that.
that I recommend to everyone. And it's like it's expensive, so it's not like, we'll pop out on a Monday and go there,
Right.
it's a
Yeah.
special occasion or whatever, but I think it's worth it.
Yeah. Tag, let's see if they have a Summerlicious menu. Maybe we can go before the Beyonce
Yeah.
concert.
Oh my God, that would be me living my best life. I can picture it so clearly
Let's do
in my
it.
mind.
I feel like we're gonna spend so
Yeah,
much
I'm
money that
down.
weekend, but it's fine. It's fine.
It's what Beyonce would want. Yeah, that place came to mind for me. I also think like one place I always bring out of towners is Coffee Oyster Champagne,
Oh yeah,
just because it's
classic.
like
Yeah.
extra, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. The one thing I was just looking at my little like list of Toronto restaurants, and it's funny because actually a lot of these I haven't been yet, which is why they're on my list
Mm.
of restaurants to try. However, one that's on here that I do want to call out is Pi. It's a Thai food restaurant, and they have one downtown and one closer to me, like Midtown area. And it's good food, but it's like a vibe in there. Like it's very good food. I feel
Hmm.
like it was like voted best Thai food in Toronto like last year, 2 years ago. I don't know. They have a sign in there, the location I go to. But so it is good food, but the vibes are good. And my favorite part is that their drinks are named after some of the Toronto Raptors
Ooh,
players.
I'm
So I
in.
feel
Yeah.
like it could be fun. Like they have the Goji
Yeah.
Ananobi instead of the OG Ananobi.
Yeah.
I've definitely had that and it was delicious. They have like a spicy margarita called the Spicy Pea. I don't
Mm.
know. If you're like coming to Toronto, you should know that the whole city, it's like Toronto Raptors. We're like a cult for the Toronto Raptors, our
Yeah.
NBA basketball
Yeah.
team. So I feel like people would appreciate the drinks at Pi. And my location has like live music, they have a band, they have a DJ, like
Ooh,
different nights of
nice.
the week, they always have different things going on. And then the inside, they also have like Raptors jerseys hung up and stuff. I don't know. It's just very,
Nice.
very vibey. Yeah. Toronto vibes to a T, actually.
Yes. Okay. I can picture it. I
Yeah.
think I realized this wasn't asking like restaurants, it's like places. So then I was going to throw out some bars too. I just went to restaurants, but
I
I
did too.
think my favorite bar is the Cameron House
Oh, yeah.
because they always have live music 7 days a week and it's free to get in. So, being a cheap gal, I love that.
Yeah.
I also really liked Civil Liberties. I've only gone once, and it was the one time I went with you, Sadie.
Yeah.
but I had like a great experience. I loved it. The drinks were delicious. So I wanted to mention those two places as well.
Yeah, I love it. I'm trying to think of other places like non-food drink related. I feel like another thing you could do. This episode is just gonna like go on as Tegan and I are like just spitballing things about
Yeah.
Toronto, but something else you could do is like a Second City comedy show. Like I think
Mhm.
that's a fun activity to do in the city. It's like sketch comedy, so if you're into that, you might like that a lot. And I feel like that too, just like their humor is very kind of Toronto humor, at least the shows I've seen, where I'm just like,
Mhm.
this feels like a Toronto show. Like, I don't know, but
Yeah.
also throw that on there.
I love that. Yeah, there are a lot of sports activities too. Like we have a lot
Yeah.
of sports teams. We have like a soccer team, we have a football team, a hockey team, a basketball team, all the teams. So it's like a baseball team. I don't think I said that. So it's probably guaranteed that at least some sport event is going to be happening on any day you're visiting the city.
Yeah.
And that can always be, you know, a fun experience. Same with concerts too, especially in the summer. There's pretty much a concert a night. So, yeah, if you're looking for big ticketed items, I feel like that's a lot of what brings tourists to the city.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, is that it? Is that the end of our love
I
letter to
think
Toronto?
Toronto rant. Yeah. None of the big, like typical touristy
Yeah.
things really top my list.
No.
But, if you're here, you can do those too.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, there you go, guys.
Great.
Those are all our questions that we have time to answer today. But thank you so much. If you guys submitted one of those, we hope our advice was helpful, even though it was off the fly kind of advice, but keeping it
Yeah.
real with you guys, But anyways, if you want to submit for our next Q&A, go follow us on Instagram. We're at Our Golden 20s. We're also on TikTok, Facebook, Pinterest. We have Spotify playlists, literally all the things. And we also have Patreon, which is the best way to show your support for the podcast. So if you listen in every week and you want to see Tegan's guide to charcuterie board making, go subscribe to us on Patreon. But that is it for this week. We will see you next Tuesday.
Bye.